Good morning, everybody. I think, as Reverend Yuki said, I'm a new face here, and it's exciting and kind of an honor, really, to be up here with you all. I think we have a really great team and have come to some great norms. So we always start off with a great good morning, maybe an Ohayo gozaimasu. But for me, I'd like to say buenos dias as a half Mexican person who grew up in a bi-ethnic home. It wasn't a very religious one. We might observe some of the bigger holidays with our friends and family, but that was really for the social aspect of everything. It wasn't necessarily the spiritual side. And so I kind of had a very interesting, long journey till I got to right here today with Buddhism. I grew up in Los Angeles, which was a great upbringing. It was a very diverse population, and we had students in our schools from all types of faith. I grew up with kids who were in the Sikh religion, Hindus, Christians, Jewish, all of it was there, and we got to learn about everybody's holidays, and it was very, very interesting, but there weren't very many Buddhists. I'd say I can't really think of one in my neighborhood, which was a little bit shocking. It wasn't until later in life, in college, my first week out on your own, right, as an adult, no more parents telling you what to do. I was able to pick what I wanted to read and learn what I wanted to learn. And right there in the morning on our first week was 9/11, and it changed us, right? All of a sudden, I was not alone as I thought I was. I think the silver lining there is that whenever there is a huge crisis, you see people come together. And we all had to come together pretty radically. We hadn't seen something like that in quite some time. And so I had this kind of spark, I think, throughout my college career with that on our backs, thinking about how we were going to make this world a better place and how were we going to engage in community. And that was a very important fact for me. And so I then decided to take all the religion courses I could. I'm actually a political scientist, and I work in politics, and don't worry, we're not going to get into that, but it was very fun to take a little bit of a side trip away from how people think and vote and what impacts them to how they go internally and think about their spirituality and their relationship with the universe. So I did take many, many different courses, and the last one, of course, saved the best for last, some would say, was the Buddhism course. We talked about Zen, we talked about Tibetan. We finally ended on Pure Land Buddhism, and that is where I learned the Nembutsu. It was very profound for me to be able to wrap all of these emotions and all of these thoughts into one phrase. And I think it kind of probably was another branch of a tree that was planted long before. See, like I said, didn't grow up in a nerdy household. In a religious household. I grew up in a nerdy household. Show of hands, folks that are into Star Wars, maybe a little too much. Okay, we got some. How about my Trekkies out there? Do we have, oh, all right, we've got a good balance here. I think there are some corollaries there that some of the pop culture's most famous, some would say Buddhists. Master Yoda, of course. He tells it like it is. He talks about a force that runs through all of us and how we are all interconnected. That would be a seed to grow later here. In Star Trek, of course, my favorite, Mr. Spock, always reserved, logical, seeing things how they were, fighting for this collective, the Federation. I was so into it, I think when I was 7, I decided to shave my eyebrows off so I could look like him, to my mother's dismay. That stuck with me for a while. So you can see how these, I think, different components came together to form what I think we've been able to practice here. And even today, when we chant, I think, and I maybe are speaking for those who didn't grow up in this environment, how do you know you're doing it correctly? How do you know what you're doing is not offensive or misguided? And that was something I struggled with for a long time. I think even here among our ministers, when we say, Namo Amida Butsu, you'll hear little differences in how it comes out. And when I read it, I thought, Namo Amida Butsu, okay. And I came here for the first time, and they all said, Namo Amida Butsu. I'm like, wait, I don't know what that is. But of course we learn, and I thought that, boy, there's so much power in having a phrase like that to bring you back and to refocus you, just the same as there were in those other stories. May the force be with you. Live long and prosper. Namo Amida Butsu. I think that those seeds were planted in me long ago, and now they are fruiting with all of you here in this Sangha. And so I'd like to really say to folks that aren't here today or are thinking about coming down, please, it's a great welcoming environment. We love to talk about how we can make our communities better. And don't be afraid if you're not pronouncing it right. I always think of this old story with the monk and the hermit. Have anybody heard this old tale? All right. No, one hand maybe. Cool. The monk was traveling, Buddhist monk, to an island where a hermit lived. And the hermit had dedicated himself 30 years to reciting Om Mani Padme Hum, to attain this inner peace and to rise into his enlightenment. Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum. For 30 years, he's saying it. And the Buddhist monk heard him, and he tapped him on the shoulder, and he said, I think it's more like Om Mani Padme Hum. Very big difference. And the hermit said, oh, well, thank you so much. I can't believe I've been doing it wrong this whole time. And the monk got back in his boat to go back to shore, and then he felt a tap on his shoulder, and he looked up, and to his astonishment was the hermit, and he said, wait, I'm sorry, I forgot. Could you say it one more time? And he's walking on water with his eternal, internal prophecies that he'd been honing for so many decades. And it shocked the monk. And the story there shows us it's not necessarily how the practice happens, but the intent with the practice. So we all say Namo Amida Butsu together in a way that intends our appreciation for what it means to have ultimate wisdom balanced with ultimate compassion, and what can we do in our day with that. I say it when I walk to work. I say it after someone cuts me off on the freeway. I say it when I go to bed, and it's a great joy to have in our lives. So before I end, I want to say happy belated birthday to my wife from yesterday, and happy birthday to Barbara today. It's wonderful to have you here. So please join me in Gashlo. May the force be with you, live long and prosper, and Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu.